Hello, this is Chef Chip from riceandgravy.com, back again with another great recipe, Chiles Rellenos. I love to innovate with traditional Mexican cuisine. Today I'm going to show you the traditional way to stuff poblanos for Chiles Rellenos. And we're going to serve it with a chili and coffee rub steak and a mole roja. In most Tex-Mex restaurants, we Americans are used to chiles rellenos stuffed with cheese or ground beef or both. But in Mexico, it's also traditional to stuff them with papas or potatoes and a little cotija cheese. The cut of beef that you see here is a little side muscle that I cut from the chain of the side of a beef tenderloin. Normally, I serve this dish with hanger steak, but I had this on hand, so we're going to use it. Alright, so I have a lot to show you in a very short period of time, so let's get right to it. We'll start with the potatoes. I have a couple pounds here cut into 1-inch cubes. We're going to boil them in unsalted water just until a knife passes through as easily as softened butter. And now for some pyrotechnics. We need to remove the skins from the poblano chilies, and the easiest way I know is to burn it off. Right on top of a gas flame is the best method. It can also be done under the broiler in your oven if you don't have gas. I'm a little impatient, so let's pull out the torch. Yeah, now we're cooking with gas. See how the skin blisters? We're going for completely black on all sides. Try not to burn off the stem, it makes for a good presentation. So here we've got 3 of them here, charred nicely. The next step is to run a cold tap and use your fingers to kind of push off the burnt skins. No worries if you don't get it all off. Also makes for a nice presentation and doesn't affect the taste that much. When they're done, we'll lay them out on a towel to dry while we move on with the next step. See how nice and clean that is? Just about all green, maybe a little bit of black here and there. Let's revisit those potatoes. I believe they're probably about done by now. We'll come back to those chilies in a minute. There we go. They are done. Let's strain them out and process them. I've got a measure of cotija cheese here and some butter, and we'll need to add some salt too. Cotija is a delicious Mexican cheese. You could probably compare it to maybe a mild blue cheese or a good quality feta cheese. In fact, you could use either one of those if you can't find cotija. And now for some salt. Alright, so everybody in, let's homogenize it. You can get the potatoes as smooth as southern mashed potatoes or leave them a little lumpy. It's really a matter of taste. Miss Lydia, who taught me how to make these, likes it a little lumpy, so that's how I do it. And now we get back to those peppers. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details here, but we do need to remove all of the seeds and the white veins. It's a pain to do, but it is very necessary. Poblano seeds are not a pleasant kind of spicy. You also want to be careful the size of the opening that you create in the peppers. You don't want it so big that the ingredients don't stay in when you put the whole thing together, but at the same time you want it big enough to be able to get your fingers in there and be able to stuff the ingredients in. And now it's as simple as stuffing them up with potatoes. There's no specific measurement here. I'm probably putting about 1/3 cup, but that really has more to do with the size of the pepper that you're working with. Just fill it with enough till it looks right. Alright, and that is done. Now for the batter. Now this isn't your traditional 3-stage dredging station. This is more like a tempura batter. Watch how we do this. I have the yolks separated. We're going to whip the whites just until we have soft peaks. In fact, probably not even quite that far. And that is about right. And now something you mightn't have expected. Now we're going to incorporate the yolks back in. Wait till you see how this works. This is amazing. I like to imagine that probably the first Mexican cook that did this just couldn't stand to waste the egg yolks. Or maybe flan hadn't been invented yet. But the yolks are going to add the flavor back into the batter, and they're also going to bring a nice color whenever it gets fried. And here is why we removed the skins. We want a rough surface for the batter to adhere to, and the skins are just too glossy. Don't even attempt this without removing the skins. The flour that we're working with here is actually a mixture of 4 parts flour and 1 part cornstarch. So the next step here is to dredge in the flour, get a nice coating all the way around, and then give each one a bath in the egg mixture. This process can get very messy quickly, so the best plan of attack is to use one hand to do the dredging while the other one stays clean. And voila! Or maybe I should say, ahí está. I've got some hot oil here. 375 to 400 degrees is what we're going for. Everything is fully cooked. We just want to get a good GB&D on the batter. This will only take a minute or so. We're just going to go by sight. There, that was almost exactly 2 minutes, and that's just perfect. Just for fun, I had some leftover batter, so I made some onion petals. Look at that beb. Want some? Once everything comes out of the fryer, you want to transfer to a cooling rack like I have here, or you could just put it over some paper towels like most normal people do. I have to tell you, those were some darn tasty onion petals. Rounding the corner here, let's dredge this beef in a nice rub that matches our flavors. I have a rub that I make here. It's a mixture of ancho chilies, chiles arbol, and coffee beans. It's delicious on anything you want to grill, but for our purpose, we'll just use my cast iron griddle. And while that cooks to a delicious medium rare, let's get some sauce going. This is a mole roja that I make. That'll be a whole other video. I'll post a link in the description below once the video is up. Among the 15 or so ingredients, the signature ingredients in this mole are ancho chilies and chocolate. I know, right? I had you at chocolate. Meanwhile, this beef is looking fantastic. I think that's about time to come off the grill. Let's slice it up real thinly into bite-sized pieces so we don't have to use a knife when we eat it. And for the plate, we'll start with a nice little puddle of mole, and then we'll domino the steak for effect. Oh, look at that. That steak is a perfect medium rare. And here's our chile relleno that we worked so hard for. Gotta have some vegetables, right? Some cotija cheese for garnish, so our guests know what flavors to expect. Here's some cilantro for a little splash of green. And pickled red onions to top it off. I'll include that recipe on the blog site as well. And that's done. Chile relleno with chili and coffee rub beef and mole roja. I really hope you give it a try. This is a fantastic dish.